going to jail!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Deep Dive Zone, a Sonic the Hedgehog reread series for fans of all shapes and sizes. And tonight, we are doing a couple Sonic comics, and about 3 comics that are not technically Sonic, because we're talking about the Princess Sally comics, but that's not till later.
I'm trying to think, does Sonic even show up in the Princess Sally comics?
His shape does.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I bet he was probably on some of the ads in the original printing, but I don't know if
probably.
the digital versions keep those.
I don't think they did. Anyway, let's start off with the actual Sonic number 20.
Yeah, this is, I remembered seeing this issue in the archives, but, you know, as I said, I only have, 3 archives volumes, so whenever I would, see this one on the shelf at the library or whatever, I would think, man, that Sonic statue looks like shit.
It has this weird texture that doesn't really look like stone or concrete.
Well, and it's also that, you know, in this issue, Rotor tries to build a statue, and it also sucks, but it looks nothing like that.
Yeah.
But we are getting ahead of ourselves here, because the story for this issue is called That's the Spirit, written by Angelo De Cesare, who we haven't seen in a while. It's been a couple issues without him. And drawn by Dave Monick. An injured Sally returns to the Freedom Fighters, claiming that Sonic died in an explosion while on a mission with her. However, Sonic's only been given a temporary ghostly form as a consequence of the antimatter machine that exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Sonic didn't actually die.
Another
What a
Sonic death.
surprise.
Yeah, another Sonic death fake out.
Yeah, I guess my description is kind of getting ahead of itself, because it implies that Sally coming back to the Freedom Fighters all just, you know, guffed up is the start of it. It's not. They have the whole sequence where they break in.
It's close enough to the start, though.
I will say before then, though, when Sonic and Sally are talking, it's like, yes, Robotnik's got an antimatter machine, which can make him invisible.
That's not what antimatter does.
Yeah, that's my point.
And my first thought was like, I'm sorry, what? Here's the thing, antimatter doesn't really do anything as far as we're concerned, because we don't have any use for antimatter, but it would in theory be used as, I think a fuel source?
Well, if theoretically there were great amounts of antimatter that was out there, because producing them.
Yeah, we've been able to produce very, very small amounts of it, I believe. Or maybe that's dark matter.
No, that's antimatter.
It is antimatter, I thought so.
If we found dark matter, it would no longer be called dark matter.
True, fair point. So we've been able to produce very small amounts of antimatter, but not enough to really do anything with.
In fairness, all the antimatter machine does in this comic is explode, which real antimatter could do.
That is true, once it's exposed to real-life matter, or to actual matter.
The amount of antimatter picture, though, would have, devastated everything.
Right.
No, that would have destroyed at least the Earth, maybe more.
It kind of seems like, I have a feeling that Robotnik was lying about it being antimatter in the first place.
That is possible. It's not really the way he said it, but...
No, he doesn't really say that.
I'll take that, I guess.
Well, because that's the only thing that makes sense to me, because, other than it exploding, which makes sense for antimatter, the invulnerability and invisibility stuff, why would antimatter do that?
It's just gobbledygook, and I'm...
Yeah.
But that's what I do.
Yeah.
They wanted a gimmick story where Sonic appears to die and kind of is a ghost, but not really.
Sure. I mean, I get that, but, the sci-fi fan in me wants to bitch about it.
Sure.
So, speaking of Sonic dying, the way that actually happens is kind of hilarious, because he's just like, oh, okay, it was a trap, great. I'll just use this bomb and get out of here, and oh, oops, I tripped? If that was actually the way Sonic died, imagine.
What a rotten way to die.
Yeah.
How did he survive is my question, because it destroys everything. It's not like it doesn't explode. I guess it's because the effects of the antimatter allegedly are to make things invisible and invulnerable, which Sonic isn't technically. The thing is, Sonic's not invulnerable, he's just intangible, which means that even if Robotnik did use it on his robots, they would not be a threat because they couldn't touch you.
Right. And then, Sonic violates that as well later on in the story.
Well, technically he's always violating it because he's still standing on the ground.
That's true, he should just fall through the ground, but that's dumb.
That's a thing you kind of just let slide in every instance of intangibility, because it's not very practical unless you combine it with like flight or something.
Of course. Yeah. That's really something you have to just suspend your disbelief for.
Well, My Hero Academia solved it by having Mirio, he only makes certain parts of his body intangible at one time, and so to slip through a wall, he has to consciously think about his fingertips up through his arm and the rest of his body,
Right.
which I think is pretty cool.
That honestly does make more sense than just saying, all right, yeah,
Danny
the
Phantom.
only thing, yeah, Danny Phantom. You don't just slide through the wall, or you just like ignore falling through the ground.
I've never seen it, but can't Danny Phantom fly around though?
He can.
That's true, he can.
So that works then.
True.
He can walk through walls, disappear, and fly.
He's much more unique than the other guy.
Anyway, so the actual meat of this story is mostly just Sonic walking around trying to communicate with people and failing until the effects start to wear off.
Right.
Or like the meta joke where in part 2 of this issue, it's like, I'm sorry, dear viewers, but we don't have the logo here anymore of Sonic the Hedgehog because he's gone.
It was a pretty funny joke. A lot of the time, I kind of find the fact that they have to have the Sonic the Hedgehog logo there and have a contrived reason for why someone is saying Sonic the Hedgehog. It kind of, I don't know, it really feels like too much of a forced joke, but them getting rid of it because, oh, Sonic's gone now, that's kind of funny.
I like the half-assed funeral procession for Sonic because, which, by the way, Sally's missing her vest again, but
Oh yeah.
But nobody bothered to dress in black for this funeral.
Did Sally have her vest when she comes back? Maybe it got destroyed somehow. 'Cause she got beat up?
She didn't.
No, she doesn't have it in the start
mission. Yeah.
Oh, she doesn't have it at all. Okay.
Yeah. For some reason, she just again. I think we mentioned this last episode, or maybe after the recording. I don't know, but like inconsistencies just from having a bunch of different artists working on it.
Right.
Yeah. Which, you know, again, it's still, I can't tell, like, I keep wondering if this script were given to a, you know, more, you know, a different artist and with more space to breathe, would I take it more seriously? And I don't know.
I feel like part of the problem is, it's going to may sound a little weird, but I think part of it might also be like scheduling as well, because Monic is not DeCesare is not a good example because we haven't seen him in a few issues, but Monic's been working on like every issue.
No, that's primarily the reason that they keep certain artists for the longest, because when we get into Ron Lim, because everybody hates Ron Lim's art, but the reason that he was kept on so long is because he always hit his deadline.
Right.
Wow.
So you could probably make the argument that you're just getting a Monic is like DeCesare might be writing something that's too long, and Monic has to. Well, I don't know how comic writing works in the first place. Actually, I was gonna say Monic has to find a way to fit it all into a certain page, but I don't know if they're written page by page or if they're written like as like a script, and then the artist has to figure out where on what page or in what order, how everything is ordered on the page, I guess.
I think that's typically the job of the editor, and boy, do we know that the comics lack good editors for most of their early life. In fact, I would say things do not really get a standard until like Mike Pellerito enters in 2005.
Jesus, okay, that's insane.
Which doesn't mean there's not good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff, in fact. But
I get that, but that is insane that it takes that long to get a good editor.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the story. I love Tails' note to Sonic because he refuses to believe Sonic is dead, and so he gives him this note where it says, "I know you're alive, so I left this note. We're on our way to Robotropolis to avenge your death. P.S. If you're dead, then pay no attention to this letter."
I'm signing all my letters like that now because it could apply to anything.
I suppose that's true.
That is very true. Yeah, I like the idea of just sending a text to my girlfriend and then being a P.S. By the way, if you're dead, ignore this.
Perfect.
The question is, will she get the reference?
I don't know how much of these early comics Kayla has read. I made up a new word for a second. Wow. Anyway, I don't know how many of these early comics Kayla's read.
Ridden is already a word. You just can't write a comic book.
Oh yeah, written is a word. Damn.
I suppose you
all
can
right.
try. I suppose I've never tried. Maybe it's like a magic carpet deal.
Sure.
Anyway,
I can forgive these comics for not getting antimatter because they're obviously just doing gobbledygook there on
Oh
purpose.
yeah.
But I will not forgive them for implying that Robotnik would land on the ground before Snively after parachuting out of a plane simply because he's heavier. That's misinformation. You're teaching the kids wrong things. Don't do that.
a bowling ball and a ping pong ball will hit the ground at the same time if they're dropped from the same height.
Right. I mean, it's just a dumb. It's a dumb joke. It's a dumb
It's a
Robotnik
joke,
joke.
but I feel like the audience might take that seriously.
Right.
Like, it
That's
works
the issue.
regardless of what's actually the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's no reason to spread false information.
No, I mean kids are impressionable. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
kids are dumb.
we talked about Danny Phantom, but speaking of Butch Hartman, literally as
Oh,
a kid, I think
boy.
I internalized some of the misogynist jokes on Fairly Odd Parents.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Damn. Every time I hear something else about that show, I'm glad I didn't watch it as a kid.
Yeah. Anyway, so they beat Robotnik in the usual just kind of whatever manner and have a dumb joke at the end where he's very superstitious.
Okay, I like most of Robotnik's costumes actually, but I don't like that one. The one where he's exercising.
Oh, the exercise suit.
Stupid.
Maybe without the
I mean-
pompadour, I'd believe it a little better.
He doesn't seem like the type of person to exercise in the first place, though. Even in the circumstance, I don't.
Even
I
when he
wouldn't
goes to the
expect him-
Olympic Games.
especially the Olympic Games. I feel like okay, this is
I know that's a different guy. I know.
no. I have a theory for that.
Ooh.
I have a theory that Robotnik's actually like Wario, and he looks fat, but he's actually fucking jacked.
Well, yeah. Remember the classic games where he runs faster than
That
Sonic?
is true. That is a good point.
The deepest lore.
I think it's a case of he's very capable. He's just too lazy to actually do stuff most of the time.
Yeah, I think that's a good like Wario.
Yeah.
Anywho, second story for this issue is Deadliest of the Species, Prologue, written by Kantrovich and Penders, art by Mawini. While on a bombing mission in Robotropolis, Sally encounters the leader of a rival freedom fighter group.
Yeah.
Rival, additional.
Yeah, I'd say
I-
additional is a better word.
I say
but
rival just because
fair
Sally and Jeffrey almost attack each other, but
true.
Well,
this story, compared to the other one, kind of kicks ass.
Yeah, I like that. Majority of the story has absolutely no dialogue. It's a cool infiltration sequence.
it's
Yeah,
such
and it's
mood
got good
whiplash,
framing. It's
though.
like everything I complained about Monix art is gone.
It's just funny having this in the same issue as the other one, though.
It is weird,
Tonal whiplash.
kind of. Yeah.
In terms of what happens, though, it's like not even that much. She sets the bomb, she runs
Yeah.
out, and we meet Jeffrey St. John, who, as of right now, is just kind of some guy. He will become a contentious figure in the comics later, but I will say Jeffrey here is he's very trigger happy. He's almost ready to shoot Sally with knockout gas, even though he should know who she is because she's
Yeah.
literally the princess. And
Yeah, that is odd.
but yeah, no, they both make it out of the explosion, and yeah, that's it. It's just the setup for the Princess Sally miniseries here,
Right.
which I guess we'll continue into right now with Princess Sally #1 because they got to make this. This miniseries is okay, I think. It's got some okay things about it.
It's nothing special, but it's not offensively bad.
It's such a weird experience because as a kid, I had the archives that included the prologue story, but I never
Mhm.
got. I think it's in one of the select ones. Must be that includes the Sally miniseries. So it was just this weird thing, and I'm like, huh, that's strange. I don't know if I even realized that it was continued in something else. So like years and years and years later, seeing the actual continuation, it's bizarre. It's like there's a part of something that I knew and read like a million times. There's part of something more there. It's I don't know what more to say to that, but it's kind of neat.
Yeah, I get
Well,
what
see-
you're saying.
I'll say the cover doesn't exactly inspire confidence. I think it's partially that it's drawn by Mawini, and his style is not, like, especially suited to, like, drawing your eyes. Because, I mean, we're going to get into more of the Spaziant covers today, and those things are dynamic. They pop. Whereas this is just kind of okay. It doesn't really look like a Sonic comic is the main thing. Especially those robots in the back don't look like Robotnik Badniks.
Not really. They look like something from like War of the Worlds.
Oh yeah, the tripods.
Yeah.
We also get a big, like, recap page at the start where it paints the Sonic story as, like, some epic journey when...
It was like 4 pages.
Yeah, that kind of threw me off because I remember these show up again later, and I feel like it's more justified then. But now you can't just suddenly pretend like there's this huge grand backstory.
It's like the last time on Dragon Ball Z, but like the last time was a filler episode that had absolutely no relevancy to the plot.
Well, anyway, Deadliest of the Species, Part 1, written by Kantrowicz and Penders, art by Art Mawini. Jeffrey tags along on Sally's mission with freedom fighter trainees Dylan, Penelope, and Arlo and Hamlin, but he's not as innocent as he looks. And yes, you bet I had to look up those characters' names despite them being in the comic.
Yes, I only caught Hamlin's name while reading this. I had to look up the other two.
It's mentioned in the recap, which, by the way, in their summary, you correctly called them the Freedom Fighters. For some strange reason, the recap calls them the Rebel Alliance, like this is Star Wars or something.
They like Star Wars on the creative team here.
Mm.
Maybe that's what those round bots are supposed to be, ATSTs.
They do look like round ATSTs, so why not?
Yeah. But yeah, like, we start kind of right in on the action as they're getting shot at, and we actually get a full page spread. I always like when they do those.
Yeah, there are a number of these in this series. I do like them.
But they blow up all the SWAT bots from before, and they race back to the camp where Sally has a unit of freedom fighters. Why they're these guys and not, like, Sonic and the gang? If this is supposed to be an important mission, but...
So I mean, there's a lore explanation that we don't know, and then there's an actual like writer's explanation, and I think it's pretty simple. If they put Sonic in there,
he would overshadow her. Yes.
Yes, Sonic would completely overshadow Sally when it's supposed to be her miniseries. So
and
I can understand that.
And I'll say this: none of these guys are going to overshadow Sally.
Yeah, being most of them, you couldn't remember any of their names, and I can't remember 2 of their names.
I mean, I can remember Arlo and Penelope because I just read them. I can remember Hamlin because he's kind of an asshole, and he's like the only one with a personality.
Right.
And whatever the porcupine guy in it, I guess I can't remember him.
There's only
Dylan,
3 of them,
that's
aren't
what
there?
his name is.
Yeah, so it's like they're not very... None of them are memorable in the first place, but I'm assuming it's safe to say that they'll show up again in like 300 issues. I don't think they're even 300 issues.
It doesn't take all that long, actually, as I recall.
Oh, okay. Well,
they're not super major. But...
Right. Interesting.
Good. I don't like them very much.
They're all kind of meh.
It's not just that they have no personality, it's that they have really uninteresting designs.
Yeah. So, I'd like to just make a comment. For basically all 3 issues, I thought Dylan was a hedgehog, and I got very confused why he looks different than Sonic.
Well, it's because they couldn't figure out how to make other characters look like the SEGA style. That's even true for the Freedom Fighters. They just blend in a little bit better. Yeah,
they blend in a little bit better, because, to be fair, the Sonic and Tails, and Knuckles, now that we've seen him as well, their designs, they're not really modified, they're just tweaked a little bit just to fit in a little bit better.
Yeah.
So it's more that they fit in better with the Freedom Fighters than the Freedom Fighters fit in with them.
Yeah.
But most of the other side characters, like these 4, excuse me, they don't fit in at all. They look like they're from like a weird Looney Tunes comic.
Something like that, yeah. Anyway, let's get off of this because we're dragging our feet a little bit. We need to get to the intense action scenes.
Yes, the intense action scenes of Jeffrey assaulting a pig.
Yeah, they're sure making him act suspicious.
Yeah.
It is very funny compared to, remember, what was it? I don't remember the name of the episode, but the one that Ari is in Sad AM.
Oh, yeah.
And Sally is like, oh, he is so suspicious. And Sonic's like, oh, come on. And literally Sally's like, oh, come on. And the random pig guy, Hamlin, takes Sonic's place. Or her place. It's funny. complete role reversal.
Well, it's like he has all the reason to be suspicious. Also, I don't get why Sally doesn't see that.
Yeah.
Well, that is
Yeah.
explained later.
Well, it is
actually.
explained later, yeah.
To be
but
fair,
like,
but
yeah,
it comes off very
it's true.
strange at the time.
Yeah, it comes at the moment. It comes off as odd. Like Sally's just blindly trusting this guy that she literally just met, and he almost fucking domed her.
Well, they gotta have a sort of an uneasy alliance to invade this like Mayan temple. I don't even. It's a fortress, but it looks
mildly
like
Central American.
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. Like, did Robotnik just have the structure and is like, oh, I'll use it as a base? There's not even like his face on it. It's kind of weird.
I mean, that does seem pretty up Robotnik's up his whatever. That seems like something Robotnik. Thank you, Allie. God damn.
Well, in any case, they get in here and they have to fight the things from the cover, which are called orb bots, not Orbot. So they gotta go up against them. And when I say they, I really mean Sally and Jeffrey, because the trainees do nothing. They literally are just here to watch.
Yeah, they're here basically as training, which why you would take the trainees to train directly against Robotnik.
Yeah, it's not a training mission.
No. Yeah, it really isn't. Even though they keep calling it one.
Yeah, they get out of there, they send one of the things over a cliff, and Hamlin and Jeffrey fight more. This is just going to be a recurring thing with Jeffrey, mostly with Sonic, but he is just endlessly aggressive.
I do get that Hamlin is suspicious. I guess he's also pretty hot-headed. Like you said, he's the one with the most personality. But it's funny that he immediately blows up after, as Sally points out, his life was saved by Jeffrey. It's just ironic.
Well, and of course it's ironic because I don't want to say he's right, but he's a little bit right, because we see at the end here, Jeffrey sneaks out in the middle of the night and has an identical copy of Sally in a stasis pod.
Yeah, that got my wheels turning. Their explanation is much more boring than I was hoping for, honestly. The comics will get more insane later, though.
I love the panel of him putting his hand on the pod and saying, soon.
It just brings so much more to it that I don't know, man.
I don't know. It's just I don't trust him with an unconscious Sally.
Let's move along, shall we?
I don't like that connotation.
Yeah, Princess Sally episode comic 2, where she's on a hang glider going sideways, which means she is going to fall directly into that tentacle robot monster and like just get horribly injured, probably.
So can we talk about that? Like, what is that design? Who did this? It was
the robot.
It's Al Mawini.
Art Mawini. What was he on? What kind of design is this?
So what is this? A tentacle chicken robot thing or a bug robot thing?
It's got bug eyes. It's got like a rooster like
comb, right?
Yeah, that. But then the mouth is not really a beak. It looks. I guess it looks kind of like an octopus beak, and that would make sense since it got tentacles.
But it also has teeth.
We don't need to get too in depth on this one. I'm just gonna let it slide for now.
Yeah.
Deadliest of the Species Part 2, same people. Sally, Jeffrey, and the trainee fighters continue their mission, attacking another Robotnik stronghold. However, after their escape, 2 of Sally's team go missing, and Jeffrey is revealed to be working for Robotnik, complete with a robot duplicate of Sally.
Yeah, that's
no.
Yeah, which means that, Hamlin is completely in the right, just not for any reason that makes sense. He has no right to assume that Jeffrey is suspicious, but he does because he needs to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do like Sally kicking Jeffrey in the face, though.
Oh, yeah.
These giant Q-tips that they're using to fight, I'm trying to figure out where I recognize them from. I've been trying to since I read this. I think I'm thinking of the weapons that Spock and Kirk use in Amok Time.
Well, it would not surprise me if Penders was like, hey, yeah, put those things from that one episode of Star Trek in here.
Yeah, it's not just that one episode. It is considered to be one of the best episodes of the original series.
I believe you. Anyway, we get more bickering, but then we get a plan, and we gotta hang glide down to Robotnik's hidden island.
I like how they call it an atoll, and then the editor adds a note defining it for the readers. That's like the first practical and like informative notes, and like I feel like they're making up for issue 20, like giving the kids some actual education for once.
I feel like knowing what an atoll is less useful than knowing how gravity works, but sure. Just as a side note, I want to mention how funny it is that both of us brought up this word without realizing that it's supposed to be pronounced atoll.
Atoll.
I mean, how often are you going to be shoved out of a plane?
I don't know. If you're anything like these kids, you'll get shot down when trying to hang glide, which, why would you do that? A hang glider is like the least protected form of air travel in existence.
Also, I think they're trying to be stealthy.
But it's not stealthy, they're all rainbow colored.
Also, why is it implied that Rotor invented hang gliders? Is this just leading more into my, like, nuclear apocalypse theory?
Yeah, because he also invented a thermos.
Exactly, that does...
It all adds up.
It's all adding up, my theory might be right.
It's very convenient that he can invent things to the exact design specifications that exist in real life already, but whatever.
Yeah, it's almost like those designs already existed and he's just finding them.
Yes.
You're making it sound much more complex than it already is. But anyway,
Sure.
they get to the island, and Armadillo Guy breaks a leg, and Platypus Girl stays with him, so that's already two of our supposed cool new characters down. So they leave them behind, and inside the base, yeah, they get attacked by the tentacle monster, and...
Well...
No comment. Let's not like make anything weird, but
no, I'm not. But I have to talk about the octopod encounter. And you talked about the knockout gas, but I find it more egregious that Jeffrey shoots it in the eye and then it like yells in pain and drops everyone. It doesn't make any sense. It's robot dudes.
No, we've already determined Robotnik puts pain receptors in his robots.
Okay. So and then, but not only that, but it also like gets distracted and drop. Okay, I guess. Yeah, flawed by design because he's completely sadistic. Sure.
Yeah.
You could make it feel pain and not like, because it's like a a reflex when you're in pain to like suddenly like release or whatever. But he wouldn't have to do that. But I could see him doing that still too, because.
But it may need to react like it's in pain for him to get the proper enjoyment out of causing pain to it.
I would assume so.
Well. That's a hell of a mystery no one knew was a mystery and didn't even really need solving, but damn if it didn't just get solved, so nice work.
I love that.
So they get out of the base, and Armadillo and Platypus are both gone. They just disappear.
Ooh,
fancy. Fancy? No, scary. There we go.
Yeah, and they don't really look for them, they just kind of leave. They just assume they'll be waiting for them back at the camp, which I don't know if that's true.
I think they also have reason, they have pretty safe reason to believe that that if they stick around too long, they'll just get caught.
Yeah, Sally points out as much.
Yeah, Sally actually says that, yeah.
Well, yeah, because on the very next page, Sally is asleep, and Jeffrey kidnaps her and walks through a portal, which I don't know what's up with that, but... He puts her down in another pod and opens up the Robot Sally pod, or the other Sally pod, and she comes out and he's like, everything went according to plan, and hands Purple Vest Sally over to Robotnik.
Ooh, and then we point out vest colors for a very good reason.
So, I guess we'll get there in a bit, but let me just say, I literally just thought the vests were a mistake, because that's the standards I hold this comic.
Honestly, yeah, I did not really... I barely even noticed the different colored vests, so...
Well, that's interesting, because I cited as kind of a flaw that Sally's vest in issue 1 just randomly changes colors between scenes, and once you see that there's another Sally, you instantly know what's going on, that like, oh, there's a robot one and there's a real one. Gee, I wonder if the real one is the one with the same colors as the one we've been used to.
So I figured that much, but I barely noticed the different colored vests, mostly because I don't know.
Well, so that's lucky for you. That means that the comic was better when you read it.
I really do think, though, even if I noticed it, I would have considered it just a mistake.
You know what's another mistake is forgetting that Cluck exists and giving Robotnik a pet cat. Like,
yeah,
why?
Why does he have a cat?
They just wanted to reference Dr. Claw. That's it.
I mean, yeah, but that's dumb. He already has a bird. You can do the exact same reference with Cluck.
Yeah,
it's not even a robot cat.
No, it's just a regular ass cat.
Even worse.
Come on, at least have a robot cat, man.
I will say, at least we do get a good Robotnik line as he talks to Jeffrey. You are indeed a man of your word, St. John. I admire that in a traitor.
That's a fun quote.
Speaking of fun, this cover for Princess Sally number 3 looks very fun. Too bad it's a lie.
It really is, which is
Yeah.
disappointing. That would have been cool.
Yeah, it would be like Sally getting her own Metal Sonic, but no, Sally does
Yeah?
not fight Robot Sally at any point in this series.
Well, that's disappointing.
Instead, we just get Deadliest of the Species Part 3, same people. Sal and the others face Robotnik and Jeffley? Sal and the others face Robotnik and Jeffrey, only to discover that the Robot Sally plan runs deeper than anyone could imagine. And you can tell that I was doing some heavy lifting on that summary. But hey, at least we start, and Hamlin and Dylan are actually fighting.
Yeah.
So I think the idea is they learn over the course of the miniseries, so that's why
Right.
they were kind of useless at the start.
Yeah, they do a little bit more in the I want to say episodes 2 and 3. You know what? Sure, episode 2 and 3. I'll stick with that.
Well, thankfully the tone of these does feel a lot more sad AM, even if it feels a little messier plot-wise. But, yeah, Hamlin still almost dies and Sally has to save him again. So that's like 3 times now he's been saved by somebody.
So this was the bit that I was like, huh? Because I was like, why would Robot Sally save Hamlin? I was like, that is such a flaw, but it wasn't.
No, we get the false reveal that Jeffrey works for Eggman, only for the real reveal to be that Sally and Jeffrey were onto the whole robot double thing from the start and planned to deliver Robotnik's own fake Sally back to him as an act of sabotage, which means that the purple vest Sally that we had saw do cool stuff for most of the first 2 issues is actually the fake Sally, and the blue vest Sally that we just got now, who's been sitting in a tube this whole time, is the real Sally.
So that actually got me, and I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, it's good, but it kind of lessens Sally as a character for her miniseries.
Yeah, it's her series. She wasn't the one doing things, though. I mean, you know, she was part of the plan, but it's like...
Well, the thing is, it's one of those plots where everything that happened in the middle, in retrospect, doesn't matter in its entirety, pretty much. So yeah, Sally wasn't relevant, but neither was anything else. So it's not like she wasn't getting to do cool things because there were no cool things to do anyway.
Yeah. Also, that does bring something else in the question at the end of the. I think it's like right at the end of this issue.
Yeah, I find it a little strange though that well, maybe it's not strange. It's just like Robotnik's such a genius idiot. Like he has this whole elaborate trap, but I feel like he doesn't take advantage of it at all. He literally just lets them walk in. Is like, good, you got here in like 14 minutes. That's pretty good timing. Guess what, guys? There's actually a robot duplicate. You got all bamboozled. Yeah. Like, he could have had them, the fake Sally, supposedly, ambush them or something, but he doesn't.
Yeah, the thing that gets me the most is that he doesn't realize the fake one is his fake.
It's just that good, as he says himself.
I mean, that's
but
also
they have
pretty
different vest colors. If you had switched the vests, that would have made sense.
Maybe Robotnik is purple-blue colorblind.
Oh my gosh, the lore.
You know what, though? His eyes are red, which means that if his vision is always tainted red, blue already looks like purple.
Another cool bit of lore in this. I was surprised to see the concept from Underground show up again. You can't roboticize a robot. It'll make the whole thing explode.
Right.
That's a concept from this that I guess Underground took, then.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a concept that makes a lot of sense, also.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think it makes sense, because it gives them a way to destroy a roboticizer without necessarily reversing it.
Right. No, that's fun.
Yeah, but they get attacked by stealth bots, which are just, they look like big, like, rip-off Transformers a little bit.
How are they stealthy? They're gigantic.
Well, you can see that they come out of, like, the reflective walls.
They're hidden.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
they're not
they're
stealthy
hidden.
when they're in operation.
Right.
Which I guess kind of ruins the point, doesn't it?
Well, it's stealthy, so you don't notice them there when you come into the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Armadillo guy and Platypus Girl show up with reinforcements. They apparently where they disappeared to was Jeffrey's other friends, who are other, like, members of the former military, I guess is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I like the armadillos coming out, even with crutches, but fucking guns blazing.
Yeah, so they escape on these big yellow UFOs, which we're actually going to be seeing a lot of these, so get used to seeing those.
So let me just say that I actually really appreciate the different tone of this, because I feel like the writers cared a little bit more. because they gave Robotnik an actual reason to escape instead of just, the hero decided not to fully defeat him like they always
Right.
do.
Yes,
No,
he
he goes
activates
through
his
the
own
floor.
self-destruct and then runs away, which is like the
Yeah.
thing that a self-destruct is actually for.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Well, I guess that's what a self-detonate is for. Self-destruct, I guess, is typically to keep something from falling into the wrong hands, but
You know.
yeah, but yeah, the escape scene is pretty cool. And all of the trainees get promoted to full-fledged freedom fighters, whatever the hell that means, with privileges and duties the rank entails. I'm reading that from the book. What does that
Right.
mean?
Well,
This is
she also
not an
gives them, like,
organization.
She also, yeah, she's treating it like it's a military. She gives them a battlefield commission.
And she gives them badges, which I guess just go in their skin?
It's not really worth complaining about. There's no point.
I'm still gonna complain a little bit.
I mean, so will I.
And say that I don't know if this is. I have a little mixed feelings on this, but several pages take up explaining, how well the writers bamboozled you across this whole miniseries with the whole Sally mix-up. On the one hand, I do like seeing the details, and
Sure.
I legitimately would have thought the vest was a mistake if they didn't point it out.
Right.
But also, it feels like they're just saying, "Look, how smart we are."
Yeah, look at how smart we are and how dumb you are.
Look at how many extra parts of the story we didn't have to write because we can just recap.
Yeah.
So this is the scene I was talking about. Sally wasn't there for most of what these four did. So why is she promoting them?
Because that's what you're supposed to do when you have a story where characters that didn't do stuff
No.
eventually do something.
Right. No, so I understand that.
No,
I
know,
do
but-
understand. But like, she wasn't there for a majority of this. So if anything, Robot Sally should be the one promoting them, but she's dead. So
Well, so yeah, we're at the end here, and Jeffrey kisses Sally, and we don't know it's creepy yet.
I know now that it's creepy. I don't like.
I forgot about that.
I'm not happy about hearing that.
Yeah, so they were like, okay, let's add a rival or whatever for Sonic, and then they threw it in at the end.
Well,
Oh,
no, it's.
boy.
I mean, okay, it's like I'm not a fan of the shipping drama in these comics. My problem is just that Sonic and Sally are teenagers. So if you're gonna give Sonic a love rival, don't make it a man in his 20s.
Oh, he's an adult.
Yeah, there he goes.
Oh.
I'm not gonna go further than this because the worst of it is yet to come, and we'll address it when we get there.
Of course, but that's all I needed to hear right now.
Yeah. Anyway, so this miniseries. So every miniseries was, of course, a pilot for a full-on spin-off series, and the only one that ever
Right.
got picked up was the Knuckles series. And I'm gonna be honest,
Right.
there was fun to be had in these Sally comics, but I see why it
Sure.
wasn't picked up.
There's not enough substance there, right now at least, with Sally as a character to warrant, in my opinion, giving her a miniseries.
Well, yes, but it's also that the other characters don't pick up the slack is the thing. Because if you had
That
made
too.
this, there were some original concepts for this story that they originally posed. And one of them was like Sally finding an underground society of roboticized Mobians with free will, including her mom. And it's like,
Oh.
why didn't they do that one?
That would have been a lot more interesting.
Yeah, what
And-
I was gonna say is there wasn't really like obvious hooks for continuation, so that would have been that.
If anything, I could see it being more interesting as a lead into a miniseries about new fledgling freedom fighters joining the group.
I guess there's
Yeah.
that.
Yes, but the
That's
problem
not-
is they're completely friggin' hollow.
Yep.
But yeah, so this comic series sold like garbage. I think that the Tails miniseries and the Knuckles miniseries did better because they're Sonic characters from the games, but
Right.
this one was also a comic with, very, like, Sally is not doing anything that is unusual for her in the series, but they've
Sure.
got these very not Sonic-looking designs on the covers, along with this very, like, girly logo, and I think that it just didn't appeal to, a lot of the boys that would be Sonic fans at this point.
Right. Yeah, I feel like they're trying to market it towards like I'm gonna say Sailor Moon audience, even though as a Sailor Moon fan, I know there are plenty of guys into Sailor Moon. But
Yeah,
it's
but in
It's the same idea.
1995, if you were, a guy into girly stuff,
You would
then
get bullied. You
well,
would get
hell, I
bullied
mean,
for it.
this is something that we've experienced in the modern age, because we went to school in the 2000s. I got fucking made fun of for liking Sonic, which isn't even a quote unquote girls series. That's mostly just because that was during a period where a lot of Sonic games sucked, but
Fair, yeah.
But we will see what Ken Pender's reaction to those poor sales were in about 27 issues.
Huh.
Well, we're gonna move back to the main series for the duration of this episode with Sonic number 21, and holy shit, that cover art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
rad.
No, it's pretty. I like it.
We're getting into more Patrick Spaziant, who draws this entire issue, and it looks pretty stellar.
I'm not one to complain, but there's something a little odd about like the shape of Sonic in this. I don't know. He feels like stretched out almost.
Oh, I think my only complaint are his hands and his feet feel a little too big.
Yes, this was a little
And
bit
his
before
hands-
Spaziant got his hands around the design completely. It'll get better, I promise.
Oh, I'm sure it will. You mentioned Spazian is probably the best artist that worked on the comic, or at least early on in the comic.
Yeah, I mean, we can subjectively debate about like Tracy Yardley or Evan Stanley or whoever,
Sure.
but for the longest time, Spaziant is the king. And
Right.
through this story, we'll talk about his art once I get through the summary.
Sure.
But we're doing 3 Phases of Eve, written by Kantrowitz and Penders, art by, as we said, Spaziant. Using cells from both himself and Sonic, Robotnik creates Eve, an evolving cluster of nanites. Sonic is faced with his greatest challenge yet.
So this is the one that features Art's cousin,
Oh,
from Sonic Underground.
Art from Sonic Underground. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Yes, the
Yeah.
shapeshifter robot from Sonic Underground.
That's an
Um,
episode of Underground I didn't watch.
Yeah.
It's basically the exact same plot. It's very strange.
Interesting. I wonder
say-
if there's some connection.
They might have taken from this, but I'd say that more
That's
than
what I
anything,
mean,
this
yeah.
feels a little bit like the Cell Saga.
Ooh, yeah. That is very true.
Because it's a shape-shifting 3-form bio-android that is super
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah, I didn't even
Hmm.
think about that, but yeah, there's definitely comparisons to the
It's not really anything all that original. Maybe more original at the time. I don't know. But as a kid, and even still now, I totally dig this concept. Nanomachines. Yeah, give me. I'll eat that stuff up. And
yeah.
I actually like the acronym. It's a stupid acronym, but exceptionally versatile, evolvinoid. Yeah, I like that. That sounds cool.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool.
No, this comic manages to impress, and part of it is just that it looks so dynamic and so fluid. But and look at Robotnik. He's so angular. He's so pointy. He looks dangerous.
Yeah, I love the way Robotnik's drawn in this one. I have no complaints about that.
But Eve is like, I guess she's also just kind of the T-1000 because she's also like liquid metal that reforms and such.
Yeah.
But she starts as a super powerful pink SWAT bot, which gives Sonic. Well, actually, it doesn't give him too much trouble, but
Yeah.
So let me just say that Eve's SWAT bot and Buzz Bomber designs are great. They're like refined versions that are less cartoony and more like actually menacing.
Right.
Very
Like
cool.
the Swapbot design reminds me a lot of Samus's her regular suit.
yeah, it does look a little Metroidy, doesn't it?
In a good way, of course, because Samus's suit, it looks really cool.
Yeah, I like that Sonic has 2 run-ins with this thing, and it's just like, man, I better go fucking beat up Robotnik. He probably has something to do with this. He's just like, it's one of these.
Yeah,
I mean, at least
he knows how it works.
yeah, he immediately is like, all right, this is Robotnik's doing, gotta go deal with it.
And he does. He busts in there and is like, hey, what the hell are you doing? What is this thing?
Yeah, and I mean, I do like Cobras, but the final, sub-final, semi-final design of Eve is a little basic.
Yeah, it's just a big snake.
It's basic, but it's almost like it's meant as a counter to Sonic because, you can run fast, but a giant snake can still grab you.
I suppose for that, yeah, it does. It is effective.
Do snakes eat hedgehogs?
I'm sure a snake could eat a hedgehog.
Some of them, probably. I suppose. But yeah, it's Sonic gets it to tie itself up, which is
Puts a
pretty
ball
good.
in it.
Pretty
Don't
good.
open till Christmas.
Yeah. But Eve shifts into its final phase, which is a big something.
What the heck? Like, it was rad, and then they do this.
Well, yeah, this
What
is
this?
This is terrifying. It's like an eldritch horror.
It's
You know,
so it's
I
got
didn't
two.
think about that.
It's got two bug eyes, or they're not bug eyes, because bug eyes are like compound eyes. These are just like spheres that are like cross-hatched, and then it's kind of got a brain-shaped cranium sort of thing, but it's like polygonal, and it's got
Yeah.
pink head tentacles, so it's like almost kind of Knucklesy, even though there's no Knuckles DNA in it. But then it's got big lips with like teeth like sticking out. I don't know.
I am a little numbed to it because I've seen it enough, but I guess you are right. It's very off-putting, and it does work for that. But it's just such a weird design. It's not in line with the other ones at all.
No, because the other ones, it's replicating things that exist. It's like, I suppose if you asked it to create something that it had never seen before, you could say it's this, but that's not where this design comes from. It just decides this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Maybe if
Yeah.
it were more brain-like, that would make more sense, because it's artificial intelligence, but... Well,
Anyway.
in any case, Sonic basically says, hey, Eve, you don't have to do this, and it's like, wait, really? Shit, okay, bye.
You skipped over a very important event.
Okay, I skipped over the important
Yeah.
thing, which is that it vaporizes Robotnik, but do we really believe Robotnik is fucking dead?
Okay.
I mean, as far as it looks, he's dead. I'm pretty sure he's not.
Fair enough.
not.
However, honestly, I have to praise them for sticking with it through the end of an issue. They usually don't go that far.
Yes, they do not leave off on showing that he's back. Sonic's just
Right.
like, yeah, he's probably not gone, but, you know.
Also, I have to call out Eve's like monologue with Robotnik because much of the time there's just a whole bunch of talking and stuff. But I like it how they do this one, and Robotnik is like, "You think you're the real cool one around here? Nah," and he's like gonna stealthily pull out a gun and try to pull a fast one on them, like in the middle of their speech, and that's just so Robotnik. It's great.
Yeah.
Very interesting also to see after Robotnik gets vaporized and Sonic and Tails leave, Snively reacts in a way different than he would, I think, in Side AM. This is a different take on his character. He kind of develops into that over time, but for now, he's like legitimately distraught to have Robotnik on, and we'll get more into this in the next issue. But that's not the reaction I was expecting after Side AM.
Well, especially after Sad AM, because Sad AM, he very clearly kind of resents Robotnik.
Well, and that's still true here. I think that it's plausible that the character could react in different ways, because in Sad AM, it was a long thing building up, and he had been planning to overthrow Robotnik, which he still is planning at this point as well, but...
So, maybe it's just sheer shock.
Exactly.
That he just witnessed his uncle get literally vaporized in front of him.
Yeah, turned him into a stain on the floor.
Yeah, by what's effectively, at this point, I think Eve might be fucking omniscient.
That's fair. And I wasn't thinking he was actually like sad, but even if he was plotting an overthrow, seeing Robotnik go that way, I think that would shock anyone.
Yeah, it's gonna shock anybody who sees it.
But really good issue. I like this one.
No, that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, it was definitely good. It was very interesting, especially Robotnik, as you said, literally being turned into a puddle.
We had a very stretchy rubber band of quality on the comics this issue.
Yeah.
To be fair, 2 different series technically.
True.
2 different series, but across mostly just one writer. One set of writers. I still don't know what exactly Kantrovich's input is. But, so we started out with, the Sonic being dead story, which is a little bit, like, just kind of whatever. And then we got...
Sonic dead fake out.
And then we transitioned to all of the Penders, Mawini, Sally stuff, which started out, I think, relatively strong, but kind of got lost, especially as it tried to pull off the robot switch plot, which just didn't come together to form anything meaningful, I think.
Yeah, the robot switch plot really didn't need to be there.
And then we ended off with something legitimately pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And a cliffhanger that is not, like, undercut by anything.
Yeah, no, it's funny that they did Sonic the way you'd expect them to do a fake death, and then it's like they learned or something. Well, it's different writers, right?
Oh
But
yeah, and then they do a Robotnik death fake out that actually they let you believe it for a little bit. There would have been
Yeah,
a
it
whole
actually.
month where kids thought Robotnik was dead.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the original run, it would have been a whole month, and like
Huh.
kids would not necessarily be so savvy to that. I mean, they say at the end, I think, ironically back, but man, that would get the gears turning in my head.
Sure.
Oh yeah. Well, that is going to be it for tonight, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, feel free to share, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, feel free to contact us at deepdivezonepod@gmail.com or at deepdivezone on Twitter. Thank you so much. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.